What's up, everybody? This is Billy Reese here, Ballin Reese 82 on DraftKings. I am going to do a Week 9 cash review lineup. So, cash is obviously head-to-heads, 50-50s, double-ups, just so you know, if you're not aware. I ended with 144.92, so I ended up in head-to-heads cashed in at a little bit over 62%, so I can't be mad with that, and then double-ups by a couple points, actually, if you look here. I had 10, 5, 25, and $2 double ups, and I ended up making the inside the cash, and every single one of them within 2 to 3 points. So that Denver game was key, and not a lot of scoring. But yeah, so start Kaepernick. It was either Kaepernick or Rodgers for me all the way for cash. I ended up going with Kaepernick just because I wanted to use the money elsewhere and try to pay up for somebody I'll talk about later. And against New Orleans, you know, there's gonna be a lot of plays run because it's Chip Kelly. We already know that. So New Orleans is, I'd say, like the worst defense in the league, and New Orleans can score the ball. So game script ended up perfect. New Orleans went up, so Kaepernick was throwing the whole time. I actually thought that he would rush for more than 23 yards. I was putting his floor. I was putting about 30 to 40 minimum. So that was the reason I went with him. I didn't expect him to get the 300 passing yards, but we can kind of look at that. And 2 long touchdowns to Harris and McDonald to get him way over 300. So that bonus was awesome to get. And I really needed it going into 4 o'clock because my 1 o'clock players didn't really hit. So Zeke, I don't need to say much about him. He was the chalk. Him and West were the chalk. So that's why I just plugged him right in. There was no thought. I mean, Zeke going against Cleveland, one of the worst DVOAs against run. That offensive line for the Cowboys, you know Zeke's going to get his. Shakandrick West was in a great spot, obviously, because Spencer Ware, the injury, so he was chalk. So them two were just automatic plugins to my lineup. And that's something I really like to do is just, if you identify the chalk and you know like 80%, 90%, 70%, in my opinion, you want them guys regardless of what you think about them in cash, just because everybody else is going to be on them. And I mean, that's because they're usually the most optimal plays. So you definitely want to be on them, because if they do go off and you don't have them and you're behind 70% of the field in that spot, yeah, it's going to be tough to catch up. So I like plugging them guys in there, and honestly, like, if I can go all chalk lineup, I'll do it, if that's what it takes. There's usually a couple spots maybe where I get away from, but it's just based off plays that I like. Okay, so Davante Adams and Ty Montgomery, them two were plugins for me too. Montgomery, obviously, because he was said to get most of the running back work, which he did all right, but you know, I wish we would have knew he wasn't getting all the work. That's for sure, before the game. So, I mean, he ended up with 12 points, but he was 75%, so he didn't really kill my lineup. He's one of them, another guys that you just kind of plugged in. And going against Indy, one of the worst pass defenses, Vontae Davis was thinking he was going to be on Jordy Nelson. So, Ty Montgomery was a lock. And then Davante Adams was there because I was thinking Randall Cobb wasn't going to play this game. And after I seen the Randall Cobb news, yeah, I was debating between him and Moncrief, because I liked Moncrief a lot, and I wanted exposure to Indy also. I just thought the game was going to be a shootout, regardless. So I wanted Moncrief, and I could have went with him at that price, but I just decided, you know, everything I've read this week, Cobb's going to be limited, even in this spot. And yeah, it turns out I was dead wrong. Cobb played good. Davante Adams really stunk it up until that last touchdown he got for me, which was huge. And Moncrief, he ended with 14.5, so Adams got 14.1. I can't complain. It ended up working out, but it was probably a mistake on my part. I probably should have put Moncrief in after Cobb was being announced in, but I got saved on it. So down one more spot, Michael Thomas. I was actually really big on Michael Thomas this week, and I think a lot of people were. I was surprised that he was only 29% in cash. I thought it would be a lot more, honestly, just because same situation going into San Fran. They don't have a good defense. You're going to get a lot of plays. Michael Thomas has been the clear red zone target for Breeze over Cooks and Snead. Michael Thomas is playing all the snaps. And I think I definitely wanted Michael Thomas over Moncrief, and the reason for that being is I know Michael Thomas, he has a big ceiling. We've seen it before. And I like targeting ceiling as much as I like targeting floors in cash games too, because one person can boost you way up there. So Moncrief, not saying that he can't do it at all, but he usually, has a couple catches, doesn't most of the time doesn't get the 100-yard bonus, and then he'll go for a touchdown. He kind of reminds me of Eric Decker in a sense. So, I don't think he's going to blow it out, but he can definitely meet his value, and that's why I went with Michael Thomas. It was just, I like the ceiling better, and I kind of projected them both around the same. So I was really happy about Michael Thomas. And Kyle Rudolph, this could be my biggest mistake in my cash lineup. He was 4K, so I thought he would be a decent play. I knew Gates was going to be owned too at 3K minimum price, so I should have just stuck with Gates with the usage and everything, knowing he was going to get the ball more. But I really just Rudolph against Detroit. He got a touchdown, so I can't complain about that. That was his only catch, so he didn't destroy me. But yeah, that was my biggest mistake. I should have went with Gates in that spot with all the usage and banged up Travis Benjamin. Tyrell Williams just played good, but he was a little beat up. Yeah, but I went with Rudolph, and that's just not an offense. Sam Bradford or Phillip Rivers throwing you the ball. It worked out in the end for me. I'm happy with that, but I wish I would have paid down for Gates in that spot. Now my flex, I went with Bell, and that's the reason I rostered Kaepernick over Rodgers, because I wanted to get Bell in the lineup. With Ben just coming back, I thought that they were going to get Bell the ball a lot, just because if you look at the history against Baltimore, they've really covered Antonio Brown. They'll put over top, underneath coverage on him. They'll kind of roll their coverage. So it was a spot I didn't want Antonio Brown. I wanted a lot of Bell, just because I thought he was going to get a lot of the work, which he ended with 13 points. If you look at it, he had 14 rush attempts, and they really couldn't generate any offense. So if they would have got a couple first downs, he would have had a couple more carries, but he averaged 2.3 points a yard or per carry. 6 catches. That's kind of why I like him, because his floor, with all the catches, brings it up kind of like it's David Johnson. So I wanted Bell a lot, and it was disappointing. That's why I knew I was going to have to play catch up in the 4 o'clock game. So yeah, it really paid off with Michael Thomas, Kaepernick, and then the number one spot that made me cash this week was my defense and being different. I knew the Chargers defense was going to be not very highly owned, and I know the Chiefs were the chalk, but I thought the Chargers were in a just as good of a spot, if not better, than the Chiefs, because the Chargers generate a lot of pass rush, and we've seen it all year against Mariota. He makes plays, but he makes a lot of mistakes too, and we got 2 defensive touchdowns from the Chargers in that game. They didn't actually get a sack in the game, which was surprising, but they got a fumble return for a touchdown and a pick 6 towards the end of the game. So I was really rooting that on, even though, and that's just one of the things you say, like, it doesn't matter how many points you give up if your team can generate pressure, if they can get turnovers, if they can score touchdowns. Like, they gave up 35 points and they put up 14, and they were 4% owned. So I think that was the biggest spot that really saved my cash day from me having a good day to me losing a decent amount of money in my cash. And it was actually about 3-4 minutes left in the game when Chargers got that pick 6. The Chargers got the pick 6. Yeah. Adams scored a touchdown at the end. All just helped me boost up, and then that Denver game, I just got to ride it out. But yeah, I'll give my love to always Fantasy Labs. Love Fantasy Labs. Levitan, Bales, CSU. They got me into this and really interested in DFS, and now I love it and can't get enough of it. So I hope this helps everybody. Good luck next week, and I will talk to you then.